Welcome back to LivAnimated.com. Let's learn something new. We left off last time working with our rig, getting our model onto the ARTv2 rig, where we were skinning and weighting the hands. So let's jump right back into that file and continue working on that. Open up your last skinning file. So that's what I'm going to do here. Make sure you check your dates and you're on the last file that you've worked on so that you don't have to redo any work. So we left off at number 12. I think we were posing out the hands and creating like different poses of the fingers being splayed, fist, and the default pose. And what we're going to do is, because we knew last time we could mirror weights, we're going to make sure that all the bends and folds in the fingers look as correct as possible. Once we do that, this model will be good to go. We should definitely rig up the clothes too, but for right now, we're going to see how things look once we get the hands rigged. Once the hands are rigged, we can then start to think about skinning up the face. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we can export out this file and that we can see it in Unreal. Once we see it in Unreal and we know everything works fine, we're going to move on to doing an idle animation first. So we will get through the hands tonight and we'll see how far we get along with that. And if it doesn't take that long, we'll start posing our character to be more in a neutral pose for an idle. And then we'll use that, the rig pose, and export those out, get those in Unreal, and see how things are looking. So let's go back with our file. I think we were working on the right hand. We should be able to scrub through our animation. Yep, and we can see all the poses we put in here. There's our splay. And then we should also have our fists. All right, perfect. So to start this off, we're going to start working with these poses, the ones that we set from frame 40 on, to start blending out the weights and make sure everything is as smooth as it possibly can be. Now you can go in here and paint weights as well, but we are going to continue with what we were working on using the component editor. Once you have your model loaded up or your character loaded up, you're going to go back up to the ARTv2 that's on the start bar, the main top bar, and we're going to load rig creator. That should bring up our tools where we can go back to skinning the character. Yep, here they go here. We need to hide our joints, so let's continue to do that. Go to your show options, and then you want to hide joints. All right. Now select your mesh, and we can go right over into here. We got this at a 0.10, so that's not bad. All right, and let's go back here to our model. We're going to right click and go to vertex mode. And now you select vertices. You're going to see what you have selected and so on. So now we're back at where we were. Let's also go to your show panel and let's hide our locators. There are locators in here from the rig creation process that we're going to need later, but let's hide them for now just so we don't end up clicking on them or messing up anything. So we're going to look at our first finger here. I know we talked about blending all the way down to the knuckle area right here. So that's what we're going to focus on with the hand being down. You can press F after you made your selection and you can rotate around that selection. So we know this is the index proximal, which is this bone right here on the finger. So we're going to blend between this bone and our hand bone, because we don't have the metacarpal bones for these two. We only have the metacarpal bones for these two right here. So it's going to be the proximal and the actual hand joint that we're going to be blending between. So let's start with these three and blend these down just so they can be a little bit smoother. And they're already to the hand joint, so we want to go and select our finger on our right hand. So make sure you look at the suffix on here. And so now we're in our right hand, index, proximal. There you go. And let's just use our set weights so we do smaller values. And you can see how it starts to conform to the hand more, I think we need to select another joint or another vertice right here and do the same thing. So make sure you have everything selected on the controllers. And then there you go. So now what's going to be important is selecting, let's just select these three in the front first. And these need to go to the hand. So our hand is right here in the selection, in the skin joint selection. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to just nudge them up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Now, when we go back to our fist pose, that's where we're going to really start to see how things are looking. But for right now, we're going to get the fingers in a better state, and then go back to our splay and go back to our fist pose. So what you want to do is grab the vertices that's around the fingers, understand what joints you want to work with, and then start nudging the vertices around. It's almost like a form of modeling the character, but we just want to make sure that the creases look good when we bend our fingers. So now you can go into here. You can also, that's why we have keys. You can scrub back so you can make the best selection set. So we're going to take these three. And we're going to do that same thing once we go back to 40. And we want to not make this such a sharp crease right here. These are already to the hand, so these need to go to the index right now. And we will just nudge that. That looks pretty good. That bends pretty well. All right. Next thing we want to do is look at this knuckle. We definitely need to bring this back. So this is going to be to the middle, and we need to bring this back to the proximal for the index as well. Now this is a low poly hand, but it still works well for what it is. Oh, let's do a 50-50 on that one. For the proximal, we want to do proximal 1 and then middle 0.5, just so it moves correctly when we bend the finger. So middle 1 and proximal 0.5 on that one too. Let's take these two and bring them back down to the middle, just so we don't have those corners sticking out as far as they were. And that was two more. Do the same thing for that one. I want to take these three and move them back so we don't have such a long distance between these vertices here. And that's going to go to the hand. Do it like that. And for the fingers, this is why it's good to have, if you look at your finger, here, you'll start to see that it has like a ring around this way, a ring around this way, and one in the center. When you bend that, that's what helps the skin flex around the finger. You can almost see it's like an outline on the finger. I know my hands are ashy. I just got done washing them. The soap does damage to my skin. So with seeing that, that's why it's good for the topology to be a little bit more dense around the knuckle area, but that's totally fine for how this model is. This is a lower poly model, so it's all good. I just want you to keep that in mind when you're working on rigging the character, because your character may have a higher poly hand, and those are things you want to keep in mind. So what we would do is we'd have another ring of verts or segments here, and that's what we can use to blend back to the proximal in the middle, and we'd have another row here which we can blend. But because this is lower poly, we just need to make do with what we have, and we want to blend as much as we can along these rows of segments here that has the 3 verts on them. So again, this one's on the middle finger, and we want to bring this to the proximal. And we just want to nudge it. Same here. We want to take these 3 and bring that to the middle. These are on the tip of the finger. All right, and then we want to bring these down so they're blended down to the tip of the finger. And so those should go down to the distal. 1, 2, 3. So let's mix it a little bit smoother. Yeah, it'd be great to have one more ring of verts right there, but that's a pretty good bend. We need to focus on the inner part of the finger now to make sure that's bending well. So if you look here, we need to blend some of these verts. These will go to the hand, our hand. That'll bring it in a little bit. These look like they got to go to our hand a little bit too. Yeah. So is this one. That looks better. That looks a little bit better. Might want to do these 3 one more time. This finger's looking a little fat right here. That's looking better. All right, so we should be able to bring these down if we put these more to the hand. Yeah. Oof, no, don't want to do that. Do these want to go to the hand at all? Minus. Yeesh. Yes, they do. All right. Let's bring this back. There we go. That's what was missing. This one can go back too. That looks better. So we need to blend these verts so that the crease isn't as harsh. It doesn't need to be all sausage-like or anything like that, but we need to make sure that it still looks as believable as possible to the eye when you start bending the finger. It'll matter when you start grabbing things with the hands. So this one should go to middle and proximal, index, proximal. Let's see, does the hand bring that down? It does. Interesting, interesting. Let's do a 0.5 on middle. All right, I'm trying to see the best way to get this looking better. If we do hand, we do one more on the hand, but that makes that finger super skinny. See what this does to it. No, let's bring that back. All right, looks like undos are not undoing. So we should be able to minus the weight value on that, minus the weight value on this. Let's make this a little bit fatter like it was. The finger does get fatter when you make a fist. It does take up more volume. Index, proximal, middle. Let's make this a little bit fatter too. I think we had this on